Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guests are from the Birmingham Board of Education. We have Dr. Mark Sullivan, who is our superintendent, and Jason Meadows, who is the president of the Birmingham Board of Education. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. I watch you quite a bit, so
Good.
Yes, and so I'm glad to be able to see you in person.
Well, I apologize for not having you on sooner. That's my fault, I suppose, because I usually am the guy that finds the guests. So the timing couldn't be more perfect.
It's the right time.
Perfect time.
Even though this show is running before school starts, this is actually being taped on our first day back in the studio after a very long break. COVID has certainly had an impact on not just the way we produce this show, but also our school system. But these two people are going to tell us how they're going to deal with that in the future. But before we go there, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
So I am a native of Birmingham. I went to Woodlawn High School. I went to Alabama A&M, graduated there, and I got my BS degree there. I went to Alabama State and got my master's degree, and I got my EDS and my doctorate degree from UAB. I started off in Birmingham City Schools as a substitute teacher. I taught in a trailer behind North Roebuck School. And
Do you know that I did that as well once upon a time?
You taught in a trailer?
I taught as a substitute teacher at Carey Tuggle Elementary.
Oh, that's a good school.
My district.
Okay.
I taught as a substitute teacher, then I got a permanent job as a fifth grade teacher at Dupuy Elementary School, and then I taught sixth grade at Center Street, and I had the fortunate luck or skill or the intersection between luck and preparation is opportunity, and so I became principal at Spalding Elementary School. And when I was at Spalding, the school was about to be taken over by the state. It was on Alert 2. And so the state superintendent at the time called me, along with other principals who were part of that, to Montgomery. And he said, the first thing that we're going to do if your test scores don't improve is fire the principal. And I had the job for like 2 weeks, so I thought I may have been set up. But we went from the worst list to the best list. I had an opportunity to work at central office. I was a principal at elementary, middle, and high school. Chief of Staff, Academic Officer, and now Superintendent of Birmingham City Schools.
Fantastic. And that's over a period of how many years?
28 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What about you, Jason? What gets you to the position of president of the school board?
So, as an elected official representing District 9, you begin, I've served young people in different capacities for over 20 years. I know I don't look it, but I have been working with young people, since high school. As start off as a summer camp counselor. My dad owned a daycare, and every summer we would have students to come in from across the city. And I remember I was in high school, and every summer I would work there. And so I've served as a youth pastor. I've served as a basketball coach, a male mentor. In my last role, I served as a community manager inside of Oliver Elementary School over on the east side of Birmingham. And so I would say that in some capacity, all of my adult life, I've worked in youth empowerment. And, a friend of mine in a conversation, I think it would have probably been summer of 2021, we were just talking about some of our young people, and, they were like, you should run for the school board. And, I was thinking, no, politics aren't for me. Just really, those who are close to me know I never really, so I was the senior class president, in high school at John Carroll, but I lost my desire.
Me too.
See, that's your school, yes?
Yeah.
So,
You were a substitute teacher and you were
And a senior. Why don't y'all trade chairs here?
I know, right? So I did have a past in, politics from high school, but never saw myself being a politician. But I will say that my heart, working 14 years as a youth pastor, I would have kids from my gym, from Carver, Jackson Olin, and Parker High School, because my church is in Smithfield, and just working with students and ask them what are you going to do after high school? Mm-hmm. And I had so many students who just, hadn't decided and didn't know what they were going to do with their lives. And so working with children for 20 years, it led me to this position, and I ran, and thank God I won an election. And just I know that if we want our city and we want our world to be better, we have to start with our youngest constituents, and those are our
Absolutely.
children. And we have to build pathways to success for them. We can't say, oh, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
And the adults, the people in positions of power, we haven't forged those pathways to help them accomplish those goals. And so as the president, so I serve as the representative for District 9, as you said, Togle. Togle's in my district. And I want to just say, even now, thankful to my colleagues for elected me to be the president. So, I am a leader amongst equals. I have no more power than my other colleagues, but they chose me to serve as their president, and it's an honor.
How many people are on the board?
So the board reflects the city council. So there's 9 districts.
Oh, I
and
see.
so there's 9 board members, and all 9 of us make up the Board of Education.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about the challenges over the last couple of years and what we're doing as we go back into the classroom. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this message. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're speaking with the president and superintendent of the Birmingham Board of Education. Things have been challenging, to say the least, over the past couple of years plus with COVID, and school starts back on August 8th. What changes have been made? What are we doing to try to get back up and running again in some semblance of normalcy?
So Tom, let me talk to you a little bit about what we experienced over the last 2 years. And I was the chief of staff at the time, I wasn't superintendent, got a call from the State Department of Education basically said that on the 13th of March 2020, we're going to shut schools down across the state, right? And so we, in Birmingham City Schools, we were a very traditional school system. Not anymore, but we were a very traditional school system, meaning kids came to school, teachers wrote homework on the board, kids wrote their homework down, they took their books home when they...
The way we did it.
Like just exactly the way we went to school. We quickly realized that is not a way to provide instruction if kids are at home. And so we did a survey of our students to find out how many devices they had. Because we looked at our school system, and within our school system, and at the time we had about 23,000 students, we had 6,000 devices in the school system that are laptops that kids could take home with 23,000 students. So we did a survey of our students to see how many of our students had devices, and we recognized that about 25% of our students didn't have a device or didn't have internet at home fast enough to run the programs that we had. The first round of CARES money that we got, we bought devices for our students. We bought $10 million worth of devices and another nearly $3 million for hotspots. But we knew that in alone, giving a kid a device is not going to be enough to teach a child. So we had to train our teachers, and we had some fabulous partners. Ed Farm is one of our partners. They did a lot of training on our teachers about how to work in a Zoom environment, working within a learning management system. So we trained teachers over the entire summer, and we were getting ready to start school in the fall of 2020. Then we recognized that there was about 14% positivity rate in Jefferson County. And we decided to go virtual at the beginning of the school because our school system, and I know a lot of school systems may not have had the same impact of COVID that we have, but we lost 8 employees over the 2 years of COVID. Our first employee, her name was Miss Kennedy. She was a bus driver. She died the summer before we started school. And we went virtual at the beginning of that school year, and then we started numbers coming down, and then we went back face-to-face in a blended model. As soon as vaccinations were available, we used one of our schools, Parker High School, and we made it a mass vaccination site so that we could support the community as well as support our employees. We required masks to be worn. We partnered with UAB to do testing, weekly testing for students and for staff members, because what we found was that many of the people who had COVID had no clue that they had COVID. They weren't the people on the ventilators. They were the people walking around and having a conversation around the water cooler, but they were spreading COVID. So we wanted to identify those individuals who were asymptomatically spreading COVID so that we can quickly isolate them, quarantine them so that we can continue school. We also recognized, we did a survey to find out why so many of our parents weren't getting vaccinated and our students weren't getting vaccinated. And about 70%, about 60% of our parents said they weren't going to get vaccinated, nor would they vaccinate their children. And so we looked at, and we had some open-ended questions, and we looked at some of the open-ended answers, and a lot of it was around, the vaccines hadn't been around long enough. I want to see what's going to happen to someone else. And then it got to a lot of fringe stuff. And so what that told us was we had to provide some education. So we started this process called COVID Conversations, where we partnered with different organizations like UAB, like the health department, to have a COVID conversation with parents. And we, in fact, had a gentleman from the White House. And as part of our vaccinations, we had the second gentleman, Mr. Imhoff, come to one of our schools to help as part of their vaccination clinic. We had a COVID conversation with our students, and then we had a COVID conversation with our parents, and we started to see the vaccination levels increase. This past year, we were only out 2 days because of COVID. We were in school, and I think all of those mitigation efforts helped us. We're going to continue that process in the fall. We've been testing our students over the summer, encouraging vaccinations, opening up vaccination clinics, so that we know that the best way that students learn is face-to-face. All of our data has shown us that. But we need to make sure that our parents feel comfortable in sending their children, because we're doing everything that we can do to mitigate the spread of the disease.
How many students do we have in the Birmingham school system?
Right now, we have a little shy of 21,000.
Oh, my.
Yeah, a little shy of 21,000 students.
See, I was around when the Big Five and then became the Big Seven.
Yeah.
West End, Woodlawn, Phillips, Ramsey, and maybe
Banks,
yeah, Inslee. Inslee was in there, yeah. So it's grown tremendously. 21,000 students.
Yeah,
I had no idea. So in doing this proactive teaching, are you getting, communication is two parts.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be listening. Are you getting reception? Are people receiving the information?
So what I would say is that we're using all of the tools at our disposal to communicate. One of the things that happens now is that social media is really big. And if you're not within, a lot of people get their news from social media. So if you're not within this person's particular social media feed, they're totally oblivious to what's outside their social media feed. And so we're using Twitter, Facebook, traditional media. We're using, we're here today to try to get that message out and get the story out. And we also have, within our school system, the ability to call all of our parents, send a text message to all of our parents, send an email to all of our parents, to really just amplify that message for us.
Well, I want to talk some more about specifics when we come back from break regarding August 8th, which is coming soon.
Yes, a few days.
Don't go away. We'll be right back to talk about our school system in the city of Birmingham when we come back from break. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham, talking about the upcoming school year. I assume, do you communicate with other school systems? Do y'all have some sort of communal effort with like Vestavia and Homewood and those places?
So all of those school systems are part of what they call District 5. And just like our school board meets with the District 5 school board members, I meet on a monthly basis with the District 5 superintendents. We actually met last year and the year before last to really kind of iron out what our COVID strategies would be, because there was not a lot of guidance that was coming from the top, and it was really a lot of each school district had to look at the science, listen to the health officials to start mapping out what your plan would be for the school year. So we do speak quite often.
So what's going to be different about this school year versus past school years?
Well, we're extremely excited. There are a lot of new programs that Dr. Sullivan and the cabinet are implementing. We have a newcomer center that is for our ESL, English as your second language students. you know, as we know across the city, the population of, you know, Hispanic population is continuing to grow. And so, you know, research has shown that, you know, we need to give them actual instruction and education that's catered more to them. And then they will also continuously be a part of their regular school, but this center will cater to them and get them up to speed. And so we also have a virtual school as well. And I'll let Dr. Sullivan talk about those more, but the virtual school, we learned through the pandemic that there are some students that actually prefer to learn from home. You know, maybe there's, you know, some health issues or, you know, just some other family issues that learning from a virtual environment is more appealing to you. And it also, which I love, it opens up Birmingham City Schools to students across the city, Jefferson County, even outside. You know, we want you to come to us, so we're offering this virtual model so you don't have to live within our footprint to attend the virtual school. But those are two new things that are completely new that's coming under Dr. Sullivan's leadership in the cabinet, and we're excited about those.
And we're also redesigning our middle schools. We know that middle school is a time where students, they explore. And so we wanted to provide some additional course offerings in the middle school. We're bringing some CTE offerings down to the middle school program. We are implementing a district-wide for our middle schools, a character ed program. I don't know if you know Liz Huntley, but Liz is helping to direct that character ed program for us. And so we are really excited about a lot of things that are happening in the school system. I will say that our data is coming out really soon. It's embargoed right now, but a lot of things that we put in place over the last couple of years, we're seeing improvements in student achievement, and that's what it's really all about. Last year, we implemented what we call intercessions. So what that is that the state of Alabama allocates 180 days of instruction, right, for students.
I remember that.
Yes, and most industrialized countries have well over 200 days of instruction. So one of the things that we wanted to do was provide our students with additional time on task, additional instruction. So we started school last year. We were one of the first school districts to start school this past year. And we had kids in school for 9 weeks. We had a week off for intercession. And what that intercession was a time where kids didn't have to come to school, but we wanted to use that week to encourage students who needed remediation, students who may have failed a class the first 9 weeks, students who needed enrichment, reinforcement. We had about 5,000 students by the end of the year in our intercession period. That's about 1/5 of our total population of students were in school when they didn't have to be. That if each one of our students attended all 3 intercessions, that would have added 15 more days of instruction to our calendar of 180 days.
And, you know, as Dr. Sullivan said, you know, we're excited about the data that's going to come out that shows not, you know, this intercession period, which we know, you know, our students, they perform better when they're in school.
That's right.
The more they're in school, the better they perform. And also, we've layered in partners, you know, like the United Way. We have some high dosage tutoring. We also had the Birmingham City Page Pals, the city of Birmingham. And so
You're working with the Home Builders Association.
Absolutely. We built a tiny house at Huffman High School as part of the Construction Academy. And that house was sold to a family in North Carolina. That house was built by students under the direction of teachers. They did all of the electrical, all of the plumbing, all of the siding, the finishing inside of the house. It was extremely impressive, and that's just one of many programs that we have as part of our high schools.
I interviewed Chief Thurman, and of course everyone's concerned about violence in the age group that we're talking about here today. And I also interviewed, you've seen it I'm sure, Cleve Eaton and Ona. And back in the day, you know, you got an instrument when you were in school, and you learned to play an instrument. And so this program with the Birmingham Home Builders Association, where we teach a trade, or we incorporate that into something other than just, because not everybody's cut out for college. So we incorporate a trade, whether it be plumbing, electrical, carpentry, into our youth at an early age, so that when they come out and they don't want to go to college, they can do something that'll make them a decent living.
That's exactly right. And Jason, I was going to talk about board meeting last night.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, even last night we are in the redesign of our middle schools. This new VR technology, we will have opportunity for students at the middle school through virtual reality to walk into, electrical work, to see how it is to be an electrician in the middle school. So that seed is planted. So once they get to high school and go into the CTE program, they're already excited about, seeing a pathway for themselves outside of high school. So
Yeah.
I can be an electrician starting as early as 6th grade with this VR or plumbing work. And so, I think the pandemic has really forced us into a new technology age, and that's just not us, that's the whole world. And we'll never go back. And now our kids who are using iPads as early as 2 years old are now living in this virtual space that is going to prepare them to be successful after school.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank y'all for being with us today. And I'll just add this. Learn how to work on electric cars. That's the wave of the future.
Yes.
And if you can be an electric car mechanic, you're going to do well. Thanks for being with us. You were great. And good luck with your school year. I'll be praying
Register
for
for
you.
school on August 8th. August 8th is the first day of school. Please be registered and come to school on August 8th.
Can that be done online, or does that have to?
Go to www.bhamcityschools.org to register.
All right, you heard it here. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next Sunday.